Hey, Christy.
Hey. Okay, I can see you and I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Try to share your screen.
Yeah, sure. Mm, just a sec. Sure, full screen. Okay. Hopefully this is showing up.
Oh, yep, I can see it. Perfect.
Okay, great.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of stuff happening with like setup with Agent Force or whatever. That's going GA, but it's just good to have, multiple ways to do things. So,
Definitely. I feel like I never have time to spend doing cool stuff like this that would give me more time back. So
yeah,
I'm always excited to see how other people are using the tools.
yeah, absolutely.
Christy, it's still under my old Trailblazer accounts.
Weird.
Everything else is synced to my new one, but Bevy, for whatever reason, is still the old one. Thank God I still have access.
You must have missed a step.
I had to have missed a step. And to be fair, it was like 17 steps with 3 sub steps within each. So I
There
don't
was a lot of
blame
stuff.
myself for missing a step.
Everyone is hopping on so early today. So
Oh, nice.
exciting.
Yeah, Christy was saying that she doesn't have time to like do all this stuff, but fortunately for me, Tracy was like, "You do stuff with AI for the team." So I'm like, "Okay." So I was like, I definitely had time carved out to do stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like if it's
Appreciative.
something that you're developing as part of your job, then you get
Yeah.
time to do it, but otherwise, not so much.
Yeah,
I feel like as a consultant, I'm always working on projects for my clients, and then I don't get the chance to do anything cool that would help me do those things.
hey, if you're making a lot of decks, then I think one thing for sure that I was able to do, or we were doing, both me and Tracy, like, should hopefully help you at least with some of the decks. No, not every deck is the same, but still.
Yeah. I will say,
Like, you just
Jiyaad, as always, you have such a
make
good
it easy to
attitude
make.
about it. But like, I did you into this. I took all your other existing projects and I was like, you're now AI. Good.
Man, we were doing a lot of stuff that people didn't know that we were doing. So
Yes.
It's awesome.
Good times. Good times.
All right, well, it's only 11:57, so let's wait a while for
We
some
gotta
other
wait. We
folks
gotta
to
wait
join.
until 4 after. That is our standard. Or maybe we'll wait until 3 after because Jiyaad's deck is pretty robust. So I want to give him as much time as possible.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have examples too.
Yeah.
Everyone to actually see stuff that happens.
And
Maybe
Jiyaad,
in
you
the
made sure that you were
meantime,
sharing your whole screen.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah. Perfect.
since we already have people here, maybe put in the chat, like, have you had the chance to play with any AI tools yet, or are you actively using them for work, or just getting started? That would be
No
cool to know.
pressure and no judgment.
Yeah.
What are you having for lunch, Christy?
Um, I put some salami and some ham and some pepperoncinis and a sliced up pickle and some provolone cheese and some Italian dressing, and I shook it up in a jar. And now I'm putting it in my mouth. It's delightful.
Since you threw it, your green things are two pickled options. And I love that you're going to go to your doctor, your primary care physician, and you're going to be like, yeah, I eat a salad every day.
Well, you know, I my harvests have been so big, I end up pickling a lot.
A
Otherwise,
lot.
it just goes to waste.
Yeah, that's what I have to do with my tomatoes. Like we are in the heart of tomato season, and I have got 6 very happily producing tomato plants, and the only way to keep up with it is to make make tomato comfy. Like the only way is to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Tomatoes are in every one of my meals.
Hmm.
And it's about to be. We're right on the cusp of beets being in every one of my meals.
Both nights this week so far, I was able to cook potatoes that I grew too, which was exciting. I always love my potato harvests.
It's almost time for my potato harvest. It's like 2.5 weeks away. Same with my garlic harvest. It's almost time. I'm so excited.
That's exciting. Send me pictures.
Duh. You know, if I'm not sending you pictures of the cool birds I see, I'm sending you pictures of the things in my garden. God, we do not sound cool at all.
Did you
Mark
end up
Fisher is
finding?
here. What's up, Mark? I haven't seen your name in a while. That's exciting, except on Instagram.
I was gonna say, did you end up finding a way to get rid of that squirrel?
No, the squirrel who I'm pretty sure has more gashes in him than more blood has left his body than is in it. Yeah, no, he's still here every morning. Every
Wow.
morning.
That
I
sounds
know.
hardcore.
He is a hardcore squirrel. And guys, for those of you listening, I'm not trying to actively kill a squirrel. I was trying to actively keep the squirrel away from my bird feeder, and I set up a set of okay, this sounds bad, but a set of spikes to prevent him from climbing up and getting into my birdseed. And he has decided the way around that is to jump from the fence, land squarely on the spikes, and then crawl to the bird feeder, and then have his day. So these are his choices. These are his choices. This sounds bad.
That's amazing. We've got more folks coming in. We're just waiting a couple more minutes, till maybe 3 or 4 after. But if you just joined us, feel free to pop in the chat, like if you're already using AI tools or if you're just getting started or interested, watching from afar, kind of wherever you're at. I think it'll be interesting. And I know AI is obviously a big topic everywhere, but I think if a lot of people haven't gotten started yet, maybe we do more sessions too on getting started together, perhaps. Or if everyone's a pro already, then you guys could tell us what to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you wanna speak and show us some cool shit, we are always interested.
yeah. I definitely have a lot left to learn too. I know that. So this is just what I was able to get done, but there's a lot more to do.
All right, so I think we are at 12:02. We got a good number of people in here. I say if we oh good, we've already started the recording. So I'd say
Your
to give
squirrel story is part of the recording now, so that's good.
my what?
Your squirrel story is part of the recording.
Son of a bitch. Crap. I apologize. But let's get started. Hi everybody. Welcome to this month's user group meeting. Excited to eat lunch with you guys and learn with you as well. I am Tracy Hart and this is Christy Brown. We are what are we? The leaders of the San Diego user group. So for those of you who are new to this group, please reach out to us anytime. For the regulars, always happy to see you. For the ones who used to be regulars and are here back again, welcome back. For the people we used to work with and are here on today's call, always excited to have any person join these calls. For this month, we are joined by Jiyaad. He is in the perfect admin success story. He is a pro at what he does. He's a senior admin himself. And when AI came onto the scene, he embraced it with open arms. And I can't tell you how much I have personally learned from him and what a great storyteller and teacher he is. So I'm handing over the reins to him. Christy and I will manage the questions in the chat. So feel free as always to ask questions during this. The goal here is to be interactive and not wait until the end for questions. But with that being said, Jiyaad, take it from here.
Cool. Hey everyone, thanks again for having me on. there's a lot of cool things that I sort of had the privilege or time to kind of play around with. Thank you, Tracy, for giving me that time to play around with this stuff. Um, but I'm telling you, this is just the beginning. Hopefully, we're going to learn a lot from each other. The way that I'm going to talk about all of this stuff is not like the only way to use Claude Code for sure. So yeah, like what I'm going to share is not written in stone. Stuff is changing all the time, but I'm excited to get into it. So let's get started. All right. So what exactly are we going to cover today? The first thing is just a quick overview of what Claude Code is. Then we're going to jump into the fun part, which is the actual use cases and what we did as an admin team to kind of, automate some of our work or just help us get work out faster, in high quality and everything. So there's a lot of cool use cases there, a lot more where this came from, but um, 4 examples to start with. And then how do we go about building the 4 things that we talked about? I'm going to go into like sort of my framework for any Claude build, like, what should you do? Finally, how do you set up Claude Code to work with Salesforce? And then, Q&A, what are some admin chores that, you dread or that you hate, or that are time sucks that are, mind numbing that you would love to just get off your plate? We could talk about some of that. So yeah, let's get started. So what is Claude Code? Claude Code, I know everybody's heard of it. Hopefully, there's probably a bunch of people here that have already played around with it. I think of Claude Code as a thinking buddy or a thinking partner to help me either complete or automate knowledge work tasks. So I'm a senior Salesforce admin. That means that, I use Claude Code for a lot of Salesforce stuff, but as everybody knows, being a Salesforce admin also entails working with a bunch of other systems. You're sometimes playing BA. You're also the tester or the QA. You could be doing a lot of different. You could be wearing a lot of different hats, and Claude Code can help you with all of those different pieces of work that you're responsible for. So if you could explain what tasks you're working on, then Claude Code can help you either get them done faster or automate them whenever you need. So that's Claude Code in a nutshell. And we're going to look at Claude Code and what all this means in a little bit too. So yeah, why do we even want to, why does this matter for admins? Obviously, anybody in Salesforce has heard of Agentforce for the past few years, and Headless 360 is a big thing right now. But I never really knew what Headless 360 was. Like, I'm sure people have experimented with it and everything, but basically, Headless 360 is you could get Salesforce tasks done through not within the UI, not within the Salesforce UI. You could just in natural language ask Claude Code to, build an object with custom fields, to build a list view, to build a flow, to do a lot of admin work that we had to previously just get done through the UI. So again, I'm an admin, not a developer. So like this actually helps speed things up so much. And yeah, it's just going to be really cool. So that's sort of why it matters for admins. And it's the same thing. When I first learned Salesforce, it's a little bit of a learning experience, and you have to get used to it. This is the same thing with Claude Code. Once you get into it and you start playing with it, you're going to see a lot of different options open up for you. Just wondering if there's any questions before I proceed to the next one.
Not so far. You were good to go.
All right, cool. All right, so let's talk about 4 of the examples that I thought were relevant to talk through with, what I built with Claude Code. The first thing was, let's just ask Claude directly. Like, Claude Code is here, basically. I could, basically open up a Claude Code session here, and basically just ask it whatever. But the dreaded Salesforce is broken. I think all of us have gotten some type of a Slack or some type of a message with some end user saying Salesforce is broken. I can't move my opportunity to another stage. What's the problem? Now, obviously, we could just read what this error message is, and we kind of already know what it is. But let's say hypothetically, we had a question on hey, something's broken. We can literally just try to recreate the issue. So over here we have somebody trying to move to needs analysis, and we get this exact same error message. So now notice my screenshot, I did not take an entire screenshot, or I did not, share this, but once we, once we also get the, uh, the link for the opportunity, and, I want to say, what is the issue here? I forgot to ask that, so I'm going to ask it to stop. All right, and then it tells me that that a validation rule is firing, and then what could I do, to potentially, take care of that. So yeah, it's saying next step field is needs to be populated to move. That's great. That's helpful. If I wanted to, I could also, ask it directly from the Claude code to do other things like, hey, I need a pick list created on case. I need an object created. I need a flow created. I need, could you create a SOQL, or could you pull all the opportunities that meet these criteria? Obviously, we could create our own SOQL query. We could, create this on our own. We could create objects and flows. But if we could just ask it in natural language, it just speeds up the process so much that this is where the headless portion comes in. So that's headless in a nutshell. All right, and if there are any questions, please let me know. But we will talk about how I set this up also a little bit later. All right, the next thing that I ended up creating was, this is a step above just asking Claude directly in natural language, like what's the issue with this? So if I did the same thing, Salesforce is broken, and I'm gonna go here. I also have this here. By the way, this is not Agentforce. This is actually like a Lightning Web Component that calls the Anthropic API directly, because I don't have Agentforce in this, or I don't have Agentforce enabled in this developer edition. So it's like, why would you even want this? So to me, I sometimes like to have a UI component. So if I was to just be like, okay, mark the current stage, I'm just gonna take the screenshot. Same thing, but this is just, again, depending on how you like to work. If you don't like to be headless, which is just in Claude code, you like to have a UI component, totally understandable. What's the issue here? And again, this is not Agentforce. This is calling the Anthropic API. And it's like, all right, I'm going to try to diagnose what the issue is for this particular opportunity. So this is in real time. Hopefully I have enough credits. Yeah, I do. All right, so it's saying how to fix it. And again, we could also give feedback to Claude, like, hey, this is too technical. Just give them only the next step field. We could talk to Claude and have it improve as we go through, tasks that it fills out for us. But same thing, it says, how do you fix it? Fill in the next step field with a meaningful value describing, what you want to do next. So that's a quick fix. Where this comes in handy is if somebody's getting an error and you have like 10 different flows, or 4 different flows daisy chained together, and you're not exactly sure where something is failing, or you get a very useless error response. And Tracy has seen this happen also. It's just like, we need help to be like, where exactly is something failing, because we have all of these different flows. So this comes in super handy in those cases. And obviously Anthropic, all the, Claude just does a great job going through all of the metadata and all the flows to, diagnose a lot of that stuff. So that is the Salesforce admin agent. I'm going to talk about what I did to create the admin agent later on, but this is just a little bit of, examples on what I had to do to get this up and running. The next thing, this was where I started to get really wowed. Obviously, I was wowed with the admin agent also, because this also like creates fields, creates list views, like other stuff, which is great. But the other thing I like to do was, I called it the Salesforce Flow Factory, corny, but that's the name that Claude gave it. And I'm like, it sounds catchy, so I'm going to keep it. So I actually asked it, because I had to create a round robin process on my own. And I'm like, you know what? I just wonder how Claude would approach the round robin or the lead routing question. So I asked it to create a flow for like routing leads. And again, I just started here and I said, hey, can you create a lead or create a lead routing system for me? And the great thing that Claude does, where I said it's your thinking partner, I went into plan mode. We're going to talk about what plan mode is, but it's basically, let's have a requirements gathering session. That's what plan mode is. And it asked me, all right, you want to route leads. Do you want this to be done geographically, like based off of uh, where the account sits? Do you want this to be done based off of a lead score? Like if it's a lead score that's 80 or higher, it goes to an AE. If it's less than that, it goes to an SDR. Um, do you want it to fire immediately? Do you want it to be scheduled so that all the leads run through, on a scheduled basis? Basically, it acts as a BA to ask you all these questions that you might not have asked in the beginning. And when I went through that whole process, it basically created this, and I didn't create any of this. Oh, you know what? Let me make this a little smaller. I know there's a lot going on here, but it basically created that whole lead routing process for me without me creating any of this stuff. So here's the other thing. If you have this already whiteboarded out or in some type of a workflow diagram, you could share that with Claude, and it will be like, okay, I could create this, but before I create this, I have a few other questions. Have you considered this? What happens in this edge case? What are any other edge cases that we might want to consider? So again, it is your thinking partner to help you put some of this stuff together. And the reason why I liked these types of examples is because me as an admin, I know enough to be like, this is a good approach, this is not a good approach. We're using too many, get elements, or hey, this doesn't look like it's working as expected. So again, it's really an extension of yourself, and it's almost like having somebody else on the team that's kind of helping you build some of these things. Even getting all of these nodes created, we all know that we know how to do it, but it's just a time suck to get all of the nodes created. So if it's helping you even just create the nodes in somewhat of a good direction, it's saving you a bunch of time. And I was just, again, playing around with it and just really pleasantly surprised at how well it did. So that's the Salesforce Flow Factory that I created. Yeah, sorry, Tracy, I didn't, I swear I didn't just like build it and just ship stuff. I actually tried to test and make sure stuff was good. So yeah.
No, I forgive you, and I begrudgingly love all the fault paths. That's a beautiful thing. That little extra, that effort. It looks beautiful. Now, are there descriptions in every one of the nodes? Can I get that
Oh,
too?
you know what? That's something I should add to the skill, which we should talk about. But yeah, like I am notorious for not putting the fault paths everywhere, and we actually have like projects before to like, okay, let's go back to all of these high volume flows that people keep on having issues with and add in fault paths. So just the fact that it did it on its own, I didn't explicitly tell it to add in fault paths. That's where the prompting and actually the skills that we're going to talk about in a little bit come in really handy. So now this is one thing. Even if you're a BA, in Salesforce admin, anyone, we know that creating presentations or creating documentation after something is built, it could be really cumbersome and annoying. So I also built basically a deck generator skill with Claude, so that I could either feed in a document, I could feed in just like a Google Doc, or I could just say, hey, go into Salesforce and tell me what's going on right now. And it'll literally build the PowerPoint for me within minutes. And I want to show you an example of what it built. Again, I was just playing around with it, but this is what it actually built just by going into my dev org. Basically, again, I didn't prompt it to build any of this stuff. It literally just did it on its own. I was like, you know what? This is nice, but this is not how I want it. That's okay. Because if you know how you want it, that it's going to make it how you want it the next time. And little twist, I also built this deck. Hopefully it doesn't look too AI sloppy. I didn't just build it and then I actually did make some tweaks and stuff like that. But again, like starting from scratch versus starting from something that's 50% done, when sometimes you have to present something to a client, or like this could save, even if it just saves an hour, like we all know that that could save a lot of headache. So I'm really excited about this one. I use this a lot. Another thing, sometimes you need to include some type of documentation for when Jira stories are complete, or you finished a project that has like a bunch of Jira stories. You throw in those Jira stories into Claude, and it's like, build me a presentation, or so we could document what we built and all of that. And then it will build it for you. And we all know, like 5 months, 6 months down the line, where it's like, why did we build it this way? And then you could go down to this and it'll tell you, oh, this is why you made these decisions and all of that. So again, stuff, either you wouldn't have created the documentation because you have too many things going on, or the documentation would have taken a lot of time and then you're falling behind on other things. This could just take that part away, from your workload. And why not do that? So that's something really exciting. Again, with Claude Code, you could build all this stuff and more. So for examples, I will stop if there's any questions, but just a quick overview of sort of what we talked about so far.
We had one coming out of use case number 2,
Yeah.
where she asked if I don't set this up in my org, I think like the agent LWC, would Claude answer me if I copy the screenshot directly in Claude? And I
Yes.
think here, like, if Claude isn't attached to the org at all.
Oh, okay. If Claude is okay, we do need to have, and actually, if you don't have this LWC component, that's okay, because that's use case 1. This is the headless portion where we don't have a LWC component, we just have Claude. But you do need to have Claude connected with your org. I mean, you could just ask it, but it really helps to have the context, because everybody's Salesforce objects and custom fields and everything are different. Your validation rules are going to be different. So having it connected in some way would be necessary. So yeah. Now, you could work with your IT team there's ways to make it so that Claude isn't trained on your inputs. I know other companies have used something like Google Vertex, and use that to make sure that the prompts are not saved and it's a little bit more secure. So if your IT team is okay with that, I've seen other people use it that way, but that's one workaround, because I know that there's a lot of sensitive data in Salesforce, but you can't get around that if you're able to get Google Vertex or something like that installed with your IT team. So, okay. Sound like it was just one question. So I'm going to actually talk about how do we actually build this thing. But yeah, if there's another one, we could, I'll stop.
No, go for it. We want to see the build.
Okay, sweet. So for every single Claude project I build, I basically follow these 4 steps. And this is something that is related to the last question. So we always need an MCP. Now, I know everybody's probably heard the word MCP. What is an MCP? I was joking with Tracy. It's like, okay, people have called it the USB-C of AI. It's like, that doesn't actually help me. Like, what does this mean? So when people say MCP is a USB-C, it's basically, it allows Claude, which is smart, to basically connect to other tools. So if you want Claude to build stuff or fix stuff in Salesforce, you need an MCP to connect Claude with your Salesforce. If you want to build a PowerPoint, you need Claude to connect with PowerPoint. If you need N8N or some of these other flows, you need a way for Claude to be able to connect to the different software or tool that you want work to be done in. That's all it is. It could be Gmail, it could be a Google Doc, it could be, so it's just Claude is able to connect to a tool that you use to complete some type of work. That's all an MCP is, just an OAuth connection, basically, So MCP to connect. And then the next piece is, all right, Claude is smart. It's now connected to Salesforce or something else. But just because it has access to the tools, it doesn't know how to use the tools. Sort of like when we were all fresh admins, we might have had access to the Salesforce, but we might not really know what's going on, or we might not know what a flow is, or when we first started learning. Skills are what teach Claude how to perform different tasks in the tools that you have. So how do you build a flow? What are the best practices? What type of testing should we complete? What's a custom field? All of these different things are skills that we could install for Claude to use the MCP tools that it's connected to better. Good news is we all know Salesforce is used by so many folks and there's such a huge community. these skills and this MCP is already built for you. You don't have to build anymore. If you wanted to, you can. If there's something specific that you want, you can build it on your own. But this is literally, hey, Claude, find the MCP, connect to it. Hey, Claude, these are the skills that I found, install them. And this is, we're going to talk about it later, but this is basically Neo in the Matrix when he learns Kung Fu. This is basically what it is. When he gets the Kung Fu downloaded into his brain, that's what a skill is, all right? Now the pole or whatever going into his head, I guess that's the MCP. So that's the Neo analogy there. And then what do I do? So this is all one time. Once you set up an MCP once for Salesforce, never have to do it again. Once you set up skills, you never have to do it again unless you want to add more skills. So now anytime I do a project, you want to go into almost business analysis mode, or what we call, I want to show it, plan mode. I'm just going to open this up. And plan mode is going to look like, hopefully this is showing up. All right, plan mode. I know this is a little bit small, but when you go into plan mode, it's basically, I'm not going to actually build anything. I'm going to go into business analyst mode and ask you questions. And we're going to just go back and forth to be like, does this look right? And then eventually it's going to share a document of, hey, this is my understanding. Is this good to start building? Yes, no. And if it is, then it's just basically going to start running on its own. And it's a beautiful thing, because when I built that deck presentation, I had to go out to run an errand. It was running at night. I went to Trader Joe's. I came back. It was still running. I'm like, okay, we talked enough so that it's able to do its thing. And basically, it created the it created the deck generator, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So then finally, it might do a good job and build something, but you want to test it to make sure that your outputs are actually matching what you wanted the output to be. So I know it's not showing over here, but ideally what you want to do is, if possible, give Claude examples of outputs that you like. So when I did my deck generator, and you know what, I might as well bring it up. Let's see. I'm just going to bring this up. Basically, I gave it examples. Let me bring this here. Here it is. All right. So I basically said, okay, this is the deck generator, skill project that I created. Here are the outputs that it gave, but what are some good templates that we want Claude to pull from as inspiration for future presentations? And I basically have a templates folder to be like, oh, this is a really nice looking presentation. Let me add it here. Or, hey, this is the template that I'm always going to want to use. Let me add it here. So again, if it's not matching the output that you want, you can tell Claude like, hey, nice start, but we want to tweak this because it's not matching this, or this is how I want you to do it going forward. And then it's going to self-improve itself over time to be like, okay, I know that previously I did this. I will not do that anymore. I'm going to do it this way. So again, it's like a learning buddy for you to go off of. Let's see. Oh, sweet. So yeah, that's basically every project you go with is going to follow these 4 steps. All right.
Before you move on, we had a question related to the installing the skills and where people could find all of the different skills that Salesforce has provided.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, I have that a little bit later, but
okay, we can wait.
I could jump to it. So basically, it's so simple. I'm going to talk about how to install everything, but in terms of the actual skills, I didn't even install the skills. I just said, hey, Claude, this is a set of GitHub skills that are really good at teaching you how to use Salesforce. Can you install them for me? And it said, yes, I'll install them for you. That's literally all it was. I just gave it a link to a GitHub repo that said, these are all Salesforce skills. By the way, these Salesforce skills were so good that I think they're now part of like the Agentforce official skills, and this was retired. So again, like, we're lucky because the Salesforce community is so it's so lively that somebody's probably already built what you need. So that's we're gonna jump to this, but I'm gonna share this also. Obviously, you're gonna have the link. I'm gonna share the presentation, but yeah, it's not that hard. You just need the link, and it's like, Claude, do it for me. So I know that sounds lazy, but that's the reality. That's how I did it. So yeah. Were there any other questions? All right, sweet. So now, how do I build this, or how do I build this safely? Basically, we start with ourselves and the team first. This is crawl, walk, run. Basically, the reason we want to build it this way is because we get to test something ourselves and actually make sure that's working in the real world before maybe, like, let's say with the admin agent, you might not want everyone going into that if it's causing some other issues downstream. So we always start with the team first. Also, we were kind of joking about this, but I saw like a lot of developers are really angry about people vibe coding, and also it is, I understand it could get annoying where a CTO basically says, "Hey, I vibe coded this in 10 minutes. How come you guys couldn't do this? And you said it took 2 weeks." And then you look at the code and like people are banging their heads against the wall like this is so bad. So basically, in the interest of not wanting to make your architect or developer quit, we don't want to just push stuff into prod just because it's working. So we start with the team first, and that's what brings us to the next slide, which is just because it's working, Mr. CTO. We love our CTOs, right? Because they employ us, but at the same time, sometimes they don't know everything. They're not close enough to everything to realize, like, hey, maybe this is not a great idea. So when we do want to potentially move something into prod, we want to make sure there's some type of a code review. A developer or architect has looked at it, and they could say, hey, lovingly, this was written really in a dumb way. And it's like, okay, look, I know that there's going to be some things that are not going to be great, but that's why we don't want to just push things into prod. And then we could be like, hey, you know what? Next time we go through a session together, maybe watch out for these things. And Claude will also improve with its output of code. So yeah, I mean, again, if we're building stuff for ourselves, the RevOps decks, the deck generator, for example, nobody needs to. That's not going to impact anyone. That's just helping us. Creating that documentation. If it's a headless version of helping us troubleshoot issues, that's not going to impact other people. It's impacting us. But again, this is just sort of a way that I approach it when I'm doing my builds.
It does remind me of, back in the day when I started as an early admin, again, lovingly, respectfully for the C-suite. But I remember in the early days, they would get upset when they weren't at the top of like the role hierarchy in Salesforce. And no matter how much you explain to them, just because you are at the top of the food chain as a company doesn't mean you need to be at the top in the role hierarchy in Salesforce. And that never quite, or in a lot of cases, it never quite clicked. So what did we do as a workaround as admins? Well, we'd make a CEO labeled profile, or we'd make a role at the top. They didn't need to know that they were in read only. They didn't need to know those things. All they needed to perceive was that they were once again at the top, and they were being, their beautiful ideas were being taken seriously. We're seeing a version of that too with AI. Of, hey, I vibe coded this over the weekend and I talked about it on LinkedIn. Why aren't you putting this into the production immediately? And that's where we have to like put up guardrails while still like being respectful while still maintaining security. And I think a lot of that looks like, yes, go play in this sandbox that I've created for you, and then we'll review it together. But that we have to, it's managing the same argument with just that AI layer over it. Like, how do I, take your ideas while not turning our org to garbage of like daisy chains, poorly written code.
Yeah. It reminds me of I think it was like a Reddit thread where a developer was just ranting. Basically, a CTO did push something into prod and just like merge something into GitHub. I'm not really even sure what all that stuff means, but he just did it. And then it said it took him 2 days to undo all of the downstream stuff that broke as a result of the CTO just saying, "Oh, this is great. It should be live." So this is what we want to avoid for our awesome developers and architects. That's what we just want to be, cognizant of that. So yeah, basically just echoing what Tracy said. All right, so let's get into So keeping it safe, sandbox. Make sure that Claude can help us create rubrics before anything does deploy. We're going to probably just want to make sure everything that Claude sends over is reviewed by human. And also, I specifically say, before you build anything, ask me which org this should be in. Now, obviously, I have not connected this directly to prod, but I have a few different developer orgs that I'm like, okay, I want this one created here, this one created there. So yeah, just make sure it knows which org that is connected to. And then, plan mode. We're always having that BA session back and forth before we actually build. And by the way, that saves on tokens also. It's a lot easier and cheaper to plan really well in the beginning. And then the build part, which actually takes the tokens, you actually end up saving money over time. So how do we set this up? It is simple. It is simple. By the way, I have to give a shout out to Nate Herc, because the framework that I talked about is in this YouTube video. The same framework that I talked about is what he talked about on installing Claude. He installed Claude with N8N. So the MCP was N8N related. We're just doing it Salesforce related, but it's basically a parallel. Basically, just swap out N8N for Claude, and it's the same thing. If you want that step-by-step how to install stuff, this is a great video to actually go through it, and that's what I did. But it's really simple. You install Claude Code. You install VS Code. After VS Code is installed, there's a Claude Code extension that you could install as part of VS Code. And then you sign into Claude Code, so you have a Claude Code account. It's like $20 a month or whatever. And that's it. That's all you need to do. So, and if you don't have a $20 a month Claude Code account, you might want to jump on it, because at one point they were testing to remove Claude Code access for the $20 a month account. And I'm like, please don't do that. But obviously they have so much power now. I guess they technically could. But guys, you're worth $1 trillion. Please don't remove my Claude Code. All right, so that's that. What else? How did I actually set up the connection with, let's say, the Salesforce admin piece? So the Salesforce connection was, I think there's Salesforce DX MCP. So again, like Salesforce was able to connect, with my dev environment through that. So you need some type of a MCP server or something so that it can connect to Salesforce. The skills, I literally said, hey, here's this GitHub repo. I know we talked about this. Can you please install them so that anytime I ask you to do anything Salesforce related, you will refer to these skills, because these are best practices on how you should work with Salesforce. It's like, done. You only need to do this once. You'll never have to do this again. And if there's some skills missing, you can create a skill. There's actually an Anthropic skill to create a skill. And again, as a reminder, a skill is basically anything repetitive that you want to do, or you can basically create that into a skill. This is the way a junior admin joins the team. Oh, these are some best practices when you create flows. Oh, you should not put a DML in a loop because it's illegal. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. You teach them, and then now they have the skill. So it's basically, again, it's your thinking buddy. And then project. It's like, all right, now that you have the connection, now that you have the skills that you're going to always use whenever I ask you to do something Salesforce related, build me a Salesforce admin extension that basically doesn't automate my job, but maybe makes you a 10. I know this is okay, cringe if you want. We have 10x developers, now we have 10x admins, right? It's like, hey, I could do a lot more just with being able to better and responsibly prompt Claude than I would have been able to do before, even if it's just because it could create the 20 nodes in a flow faster than I could. Again, it's just helping you speed up. So I did a lot of stuff in like a weekend. It's good. So yeah, of course the Neo reference, he knows Kung Fu. Well, you know what? Now Neo also knows Salesforce. So that's that. Yep, this is more of the same. It's just Claude making it look beautiful. Salesforce DX MCP, that Jiyaad Pro GitHub repo that has the tools and like the skills. That's something that you install. Just those two connections. Yep, the 36 skill pack that we talked about. Claude.md is basically something that it always is loaded in when you're doing a specific project. So let's say anytime you're working with Salesforce, like I want you to always ask me which org. I want you to always um, you know, look at all the objects that I have or something. You can have Claude help you build this, but it just helps it have a little bit more context before you start working. So again, the skills and the Claude.md just helps it start from a, like somebody that joined your company. The Claude.md is like, okay, now that you've worked with us for a few weeks, um, you kind of have more of the context. You don't have to always remind Claude, oh, what is an account object? What is a lead? All of these things will be in as part of its context. So you could just quickly get into, hey, we need to build a flow doing this, or we need to update this other flow because there's an error going on, or XYZ. Basically, that's just giving it context so that you could just make sure you're working with it quickly. And then if you're stuck, so many times, there weren't YouTube videos for how to work with Claude and Salesforce. It was like, dude, I don't know what this means. Can you tell me? And it's like, yes, I could tell you. And you know what? If it didn't tell me, sometimes I would just go to a fresh Claude, Claude.ai in like the browser and be like, I'm seeing this. I don't know what it is. And it would tell me what to do. So again, it's a thinking partner. It's almost like a tutor. It's like, it's just great overall. So yeah. Anything else? Yeah. All right, cool. The other thing that I wanted to mention was how much is this going to cost me? So basically, you got the pro plan at $20 a month. And for me to do that build for like the admin agent, for example, it was only $1.87. And that's because I did a bunch of testing. The reason I want to call this out specifically, you know what? Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. There's somebody
There's somebody at your door. You're all good.
Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I will be right back.
Let's go. Do we have any questions, Christy, that we need to make sure he answers for us?
There have been a lot of questions about using VS Code versus like the different models, desktop applications, and which one is better. So maybe we just get his opinion about that. And then there was a question about, can we do similar jobs with other LLMs like Copilot or Gemini? And I kind of answered that. Mark just asked if we use voice prompting over text. There's a lot of inspired people in the chat right now, so woohoo.
That's sweet. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know what it was. It was somebody with a tool belt, so he looked important, but then I missed him.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right. So yes. Okay. So the question was around the voice. By the way, voice is actually something that a lot of folks do end up using, and they encourage people to use that. So if you're gonna prompt with just your voice, I think it helps it just be a little bit more natural. So I would definitely encourage that. I just haven't set up all of that yet. So yeah. Let's see. Did I have anything else here? And this is just some try this stuff if you want. So yeah. Okay. Q&A point. Okay. So the voice part was good. I heard there was another question.
Yeah, so there's a question about like, what do you prefer, the VS Code experience or using the desktop applications from either Claude directly or Cursor or whatever you choose?
Okay, so I personally use the VS Code experience. That's just how I started, and that's how I keep. That's just how I've been going with everything. I heard that it takes less tokens to use the VS Code extension, and a lot of people probably heard this. People actually say that the best way to use Claude is through the CLI. Now, that's like pretty much the next part that I'm trying to transition to be like, all right, I know that this looks scary. Everything is like, okay, this seems scary. Then you try it, and it's not as scary. The same thing when we were learning Salesforce. Like, flows seem scary because I'm used to process builders. I might be dating myself, but okay. Process builders, okay, I get it. It's a little scary, but now it's like process builders going away. Oh, sure, I gotta use flow. What's an assignment? Okay, so, but then it's like, okay, now it's second nature. Now I'm basically just trying to go to CLI, but yeah, I personally use the VS Code experience because I don't know, it just seems a little bit more flexible, and I heard it takes less tokens. And I did try to use the desktop app. I don't know. It just I had more experience with VS Code and getting all that stuff set up with VS Code that I just personally, just for me, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather just stick with VS Code for now. So yeah, that's just me. Again, it's just my preference. So
With the $20 a month plan and like the $1.87 that it costs, how do you like obviously the fun little fear posts that you see on LinkedIn now are like, Uber maxed out their tokens for the year in the first 3 months.
yeah,
Small businesses are going out of business because they get $100,000 bill. Like, what's like as an individual user? Let's say especially if your company is still feeling shy around this or doesn't have the budget for this, and you're just trying to up your experience for your own like career future. How do you safely manage like the tokens, because it does seem like a deep hole of mystery.
yeah. So I think a lot of folks might not have just went to like the limits portion here. I just have limits set. Let's like go to organizational settings. Okay, hopefully it doesn't show anything too crazy. Um, oh, adjust limit. Okay, so I have a $20 a month max limit as of I guess July or no. Okay, I don't know. I use $1.56 for whatever this is looking at, but it just can't go above $20 for the entire month. I just make sure I set that limit. So if you have a limit set, you should be okay. And I mean, I thought that I'm like, surely the admin agent, because it's building a Lightning Web component, it's you know doing all the stuff that I wasn't able to do before. Like might cost $5, $10, costs less than $1, and most of the stuff ended up also the $20 a month plan. It gives you usage built in. So part of the reason why I end up using or building projects is because oops, sorry about that. Oh, oh, okay. You know what? This is still looking up over here. Sorry, I'm getting tripped up. Okay, so yeah, part of the reason why I like to use um, okay, so the $20 a month plan, if anybody's tried it, it's going to say something like, okay, you've used 100% of your allocation for your 5 hour block. I want to use as much of my allocation for the week as possible because you have weekly limits. So that kind of encourages me to be like, okay, what project do I want to build, just out of curiosity, so that I'm not wasting my, allocation for the month. Because technically, you get like $5. Look, even then, $5 of usage. I built something in a weekend to build that admin agent. That, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. Also, somebody brought up that, you know what? Remember when Uber used to be like $3 a ride, and now it's like crazy? Like this might very well be. Hey, remember when tokens used to be $5 a month, and like back in my day, it was $5 a month. Like we'll be like those people who are like, okay, it used to be so much cheaper. Now's the time to build, because who knows when these things go public. And when a company goes public, it's like you got your shareholder fiduciary, whatever, and now we got to pump the price of all of these subscription plans and stuff. So it's probably good to make your portfolio now, because I'm telling you guys, I've shared this admin component a few times, and the interviewers are always like, wow, like that is like, because you could show what you've built. You have a portfolio, so build your portfolio. You can just copy, these 4 prompts here if you want to get started. But everybody should have some type of a Salesforce or AI portfolio, I think. So if none of these 4 examples are interesting to you, there's so many other things that you can come up with. But yeah, I would definitely encourage everyone to try to build something.
We had another question about doing similar jobs with other LLMs like Copilot or Gemini. Have you only played with Claude yet, or have you tried any others to do similar things?
Yeah, there's so many. I think that I was trying to get a little bit more familiar with Codex, because I heard Codex has made like a big leap and might actually be better than Claude in a lot of ways. But I have not like tried to. What would be cool if I did Codex versus Claude for like the lead routing flow, for example, like what builds it better, how was my experience. I have not done that. I think I should do that. The other thing that I could have been wrong, but we basically get the highest tier of Claude model with our $20 a month plan. With OpenAI, you don't get the top quality model unless you're paying like $100 a month. I could be mistaken. So that kind of like turned me off a little bit to be like, I kind of want to compare the best Claude with the best OpenAI, but I don't want to pay $100 a month right now because I have all these other subscriptions. So that might have been one of the reasons why I didn't go into it more. But with VS Code, you could probably bring in Codex as an app, Gemini as an app. I haven't again done that so much with Gemini, but um, yeah, like you could pretty much try to recreate all of this with other models for sure. I have heard some stuff about some of the Chinese models, but I haven't really played around with that. And also, quite frankly, there's probably some like compliance thing, like you know it's probably going to be hard to be like, hey, there's some of these models. There might be some security concerns. So that might not be something that, your manager might approve. But if you want to play with it yourself, I heard that they're pretty good, but I haven't personally. But yeah, I do know that sometimes, there's some of those security concerns and everything. But I heard that they're great otherwise.
And then Mark says that he's seen people use a Microsoft tool to compress files to save on tokens. As an example of plugging in a PDF to make a Confluence note-taking export. Is that something you've ever tried?
I haven't really done that specifically, but you know what? I'm sure, it's very doable. And you know what? Saving context, there's so many of these other like plugins or skills that you could install. One of them I heard was called Caveman. I haven't specifically used it, but Caveman is basically you have to pay for the output that Claude gives, like the input and the output. So maybe if you compressed files, it saves on the input that goes into Claude. But sometimes Claude gets very wordy, and the more wordy it gets, the more it costs. So Caveman is literally, I like Salesforce. Uh, you do this. Like it basically takes out a lot of these like extra words, but it saves you money, but you still kind of know what it's saying. So I just thought that was funny. But if you want to look up Caveman for Claude, that's one way I've heard people are saving tokens on.
I think on that same note, make sure that you go into your account settings and Claude or ChatGPT or anywhere, and you can set those types of things. Like, I want you to be super conversational, or I want you to be super straightforward, and then you can give it additional instructions like, don't BS me, man. Just just give me it straight,
Yeah, yeah,
So making sure you're playing with those things too to kind of save on
yeah,
token
absolutely.
usage. David wants to know, can you estimate the approximate savings you've earned by using Claude, including all the new overhead of setup and testing? Or that might be a Tracy question. I don't know.
I was going to say, like, Jiyaad, obviously speak up, but for the PowerPoint skill he made alone, it was between everybody on our team, it was a savings of 7 hours a week. I think Jiyaad started that PowerPoint skill honestly because it is probably something I would complain about on the daily of, my mindset of I'm a builder first. Why am I wasting time making pretty PowerPoints? And so, just speaking from that use case alone, it was 7 hours. And we were a small team, so 7 hours per week of not having to even I don't even think about PowerPoint anymore. It's not something I complain about. It's not something that like gives me stress or I have to work into my day. It's literally like, you guys want a presentation on what? I have to do it when? Skill. Done.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you remember, and I know that we were kind of using another tool to help with this, but it was still Anthropic underneath. We ran into an issue at the end of the quarter that was obviously when you get to an end of quarter issue and somebody's trying to close a deal and it's being stopped, like you could just imagine the, you know, like like the pressure and then everybody scrambling to see where something is broken. I think that for that one particular issue, it saved us at least an hour, but it was an hour between Tracy, our developer, and then we would have probably jumped into brainstorm also. So that's like, you know, I guess you could call it technically like 3 or 4 hours of man work, but also in a very high pressure situation. So like when you have the LLM helping you in those situations, like it saves the day like a lot of times. So and then also like just the annoying thing of like, okay, we know how to debug, but we have to go through every single flow, which flow is actually causing this particular error. Like, it helping with that, like you could just imagine like how much time that saves too. Like it makes us almost makes me feel like a superhero sometimes. Like, oh, okay, you figured that out super quickly, but before I know that doing it manually would have just taken so long. We would have gotten it eventually, but just going through all the flows and stuff. And sometimes we forget context that Claude remembers. So yeah, it comes in super handy for that too. But I remember that was specifically jumped out in my head like, wow, this is really like super helpful.
Yeah, 100% agree. Well, we are just, yeah, I was going to say we are just about at time. Does anybody have any other questions? I think we could take one more, but if not, that's cool too. Yeah, I echo that. Great session, Jiyaad. Thank you so much. If you end up comparing platforms on that lead routing, I'd love to have you back to see that comparison and what it looks like. Thank you again for these insights. We will share the recording and the deck after this. And then stay tuned, I think, Christy, for next month. I don't think we have it on the books yet, but we will post it here in the coming weeks. And as always, thank you guys for spending lunch with us, and we will see you all next month.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.